It is said that anyone who buys an Alfa Romeo does so with their heart instead of their head. Alfa Romeo have long had a loyal fan base and has one of the most recognizable logos in the automotive industry. But where did it all begin? Alfa Romeo, as we know it, was founded in 1910. However, it was in 1906 that the original company was founded. It was originally Società Anonima Italiana Derek, or said. However, slow sales and a move to Milan meant the said investors created another company, ALFA. This stood for Anonima Lombarda Fabbrica Automobili. This translates to Lombardy Automobile Factory Corporation. The Romeo came from the surname of Nicola Romeo, the entrepreneur who took control of the company in 1915. It took just a year for Alfa Romeo to start producing cars. The first vehicle was the 24 HP car and took part in events such as the Targa Florio endurance race. It was designed by Giuseppe Morosi, who was hired by the previous company to design vehicles designed for the Italian market. Morosi designed a series of ALFA cars with more powerful engines. The company started to venture into motor racing, and in 1914 an advanced Grand Prix car, the GP1914. It had a 4-cylinder engine, double overhead camshafts and a twin ignition. However, like all automotive companies at this time, production was halted. During the First World War, what happened to Alfa Romeo during World War I? Nicola Romeo took over the company in August of 1915. The factory was converted to produce military hardware for the Italian and Allied war efforts. This included creating munitions, aircraft engines as well as generators. Based on their existing car engines, the profits the company gained from the war were put back into acquiring locomotive and railway carriage plants in Saronno, Rome and Naples. Car production resumed in 1919, and the company name was changed to Alfa Romeo a year later. What happened to Alfa Romeo? After World War I, Alfa Romeo ventured back into the world of racing in 1920 with the Torpedo 20 to 30 HP. Morosi was still head designer, and during his tenure Alfa Romeo they saw success with cars such as the 40 to 60 HP and the RL Targa Florio. Morosi was replaced by Vittorio Ianno in 1923, and the first car under his instruction was the P2 Grand Prix. This won the inaugural World Championship for Grand Prix cars in 1925. Road cars that Ianno designed included the 4-6 and 8-cylinder inline engines and a small to medium displacement. These designs were both reliable and powerful. What happened to Alfa Romeo during World War II? Alfa Romeo was taken under government control in 1933 and became a national emblem of Mussolini's Italy. During this time, Alfa Romeo built bespoke vehicles for the wealthy, and the era peaked with the Tonino OB Type 35 racers. The factory was converted to the production of Macchi C2 of Folgore engines, and the Daimler-Benz 600 series was built under license, but was bombed during the Second World War. Unfortunately for Alfa Romeo, they struggled to return to the profitability they had once seen. Luxury cars weren't popular in post-war Italy, and mass-produced, smaller vehicles were the way forward. The 1954 Giulietta series was produced, featuring saloons, coupes and open two-seaters. These would stay in production until 1995, increasing the engine from 1,300 cc to 2,000 cc. What did Alfa Romeo do after World War II? Motorsports resumed. Alfa Romeo soon dominated events. Formula One was introduced around this time, and this type of racing proved successful for Alfa Romeo, particularly with their Type 158 Alfetta. This was adapted from a pre-war Voiturette and ensured Alfa Romeo won the first Formula One World Championship in 1950. They won the following year as well. In 1952, Alfa Romeo started Project 1361, a front-wheel drive compact car. It was to be called the Tipo 103 and was essentially a smaller Giulia. However, the Tipo 103 never saw production due to financial difficulties in post-war Italy. However, if it had seen production, then it would have been the first modern front-wheel drive compact car, not the Mini Cooper. When did Alfa Romeo partner with Fiat? During the 1960s, Alfa Romeo concentrated on making production-based cars and focused mainly on competition. In the 1970s, they concentrated on prototype sports car racing. However, It was around this time that they then ran into financial difficulties and there were attempts to shore it up. This included a joint venture with Nissan, endorsed by the parent company of Alfa Romeo. The parent company was in the IRI, an Italian government-owned company. However, this partnership was unsuccessful. IRI were suffering heavy losses by 1986 and put Alfa Romeo up for sale. Fiat offered to acquire the whole of Alfa Romeo and guarantee jobs to Italian workers. In 1986, the deal was concluded and Alfa Romeo merged with Lancia into Fiat's Alfa Lancia Industriale SP, and models produced during this period included a GTA version of the 147 hatchback, the Barra and the 8C Competizione. During the 1960s, Alfa Romeo became known for their small cars and the models specifically designed for the Italian police and carabinieri, who were an arm of the Italian armed forces. This included the Giulia Super and the 2600 Sprint GT. The colors used by the police are green or blue with white stripes, known as Panther. The carabinieri Alfa Romeos are dark blue with white roofs and red stripes. These are known as Godzilla Gazelle. Alfa Romeo remained the chosen manufacturer for the highway police, the fiscal law enforcement, and for the police and carabinieri. Interestingly, the Italian Prime Minister has used Alfa Romeos since the 1960s as the preferred government limousines. Alfa Romeo and the present-day Alfa Romeo suffered huge losses in the mid-2000s, and even in 2010, it failed to reach the annual sales target of 300,000. Alfa Romeo cars have a reputation for being less reliable than some other car brands, with frequent breakdowns and expensive repairs. However, the production of the Giulietta and Mito are gaining popularity, and the Stelvio is set to compete with the Porsche Macan and Audi Q5. The Giulietta has rekindled a lot of people's love of Alfa Romeo, and the Business Edition was launched a few years ago, specifically aimed at business drivers. The Business Edition has low CO2 emissions, low running costs, and brilliant fuel economy, making it the perfect company car and introducing a whole new generation to Alfa Romeo. That pretty much brings us to the present day. Current models include the Giulietta, Mito, the Giulia, and the Stelvio. Alfa Romeo are still a cult icon and is loved by many. They are becoming an increasingly popular sight on British roads and, despite reports of unreliability throughout their lifetime, are shaking off that reputation to become hugely popular company cars. Hope you enjoyed our video and please leave a like. It takes a lot of effort to make one. Peace.